If you try to run, you'll be bit by the dog.
You don't have a gun.
I don't care. Shot at us.
From a Masters champion to a prison inmate, Angel Cabrera was handed a stiff sentence. But the mainstream media and Augusta doesn't want you to know how this Masters winner ended up behind bars. So I decided to uncover what exactly they're hiding from us about the Argentine pro golfer, only to discover that Cabrera is no stranger to a criminal lifestyle. From being a street urchin to committing a crime that normally should see him spend the rest of his life behind bars, Angel Cabrera is definitely not who you think he is. Angel Cabrera was an unlikely champion to begin with, a street urchin who grew up without parents and never had a formal education. Born in Cordoba, Argentina, on September 12, 1969, Angel Cabrera grew up in the care of his paternal grandmother after his parents split up. At the time, he was just 4, and his father, Miguel, who was a handyman, couldn't provide for him or his wife, who was a maid. He was raised in the streets of a very poor town and left primary school at age 8. Angel never had any discipline, and in no time, he learned a lot of bad habits. He was a hustler, a street kid, and he started drinking way too soon. One of his enemies is alcohol, Charlie Epps, Cabrera's longtime mentor and instructor, remarked. And when he got under the influence of alcohol, he just wouldn't listen to anybody. Soon, Angel realized that if he wanted to be able to put food on his table, he'd have to dabble into a sport. Of course, he had an interest in golf, so he decided to caddy full-time and support his family financially. He was so poor that when he showed up at the Cordoba Country Club for the first time to ask for a job, Cabrera had no shoes. And that's when he got the name El Pato, which means the duck, because of his big feet. These judgments carried over to the golf course, impacting his life forever. Cabrera has shown resilience, bravery, and almost a sense of urgency in crucial situations that most players lack, no matter how skilled. Angel was undeniably talented. That the force of his swing and his fierce determination caught the eye of one of the members of the club. Juan Cruz Molina, a local businessman, bought him his first set of clubs, and his golf career began. Cabrera began his professional career at 20, but was only accepted into the European Tour in 1996. And the rest, they say, is history. The Argentine pro golfer has featured on the PGA and DP World Tour. The 53-year-old beat Jim Furyk and Tiger Woods by one shot to win the U.S. Open at Oakmont in 2007. He triumphed 2 years later, winning the Masters playoff in a 3-way sudden death playoff. No Argentine or South American has won either, but Cabrera won both. The last time Angel played competitively was in 2020, finishing his career with 52 tournament wins. The South American also has 4 European Tour wins, including the BMW PGA Championship at Wentworth. But history will always remember Cabrera as one of the most celebrated Argentine and South Americans to win 2 majors, and the man who swapped the Masters green jacket for an orange jumpsuit associated with prisoners. It all started when Cabrera's ex-lover, Cecilia Torres Mana, filed charges against him in December 2016 and accused the pro golfer of hitting her in the face. After she filed charges of assault against him, Cabrera seemed unperturbed as he went about his normal business, playing rounds of golf and granting interviews.
Llegar acá fue muy emocionante, ¿no? Es algo que estaba esperando hace mucho tiempo.
But when the case took a new turn, the Argentine went into hiding to avoid prosecution. At this time, he had hired Miguel Gavier as his attorney, and Gavier never failed to remind the public that his client wasn't guilty as alleged. The case became a trending controversy back in Cabrera's home country, with many taking sides with the 2-time major champion, calling Cecilia out for wanting to take a bite of Cabrera's pie. And it did make a lot of sense because the South American sensation had claimed his 3rd win on U.S. soil and his first non-major win on the PGA Tour, snagging a whopping $1.17 million. But others, who knew Cabrera had a history of violence, criticized him for his penchant for assaulting women. The case became even more divisive when Cecilia revealed the extent of the injury she sustained at the hands of one of Argentina's famous athletes.
Como policía, ellos y ver la situación en la que estaba, le mostré cómo estaba.
And that's not all. She also revealed to the media outlet the bruises she sustained on her knees.
Pero igual al reconocerlo, simplemente.
But Cabrera has always been known to get into trouble. It all started in December 2020 when he had issues with his visa and an injury in his wrist that he couldn't feature in any main event. After frequent visits to the hospital, he had to undergo surgery, which relieved the pressure of the nerve, and the pain went away. In no time, he began swinging clubs again and returned to Cordoba, where he got into yet another trouble, but this time not with a woman. His common-law live-in filed another suit against him. At this point, Cabrera wanted to return to the U.S. to start playing again, but COVID set in, and there were fewer flights. So he hopped in a taxi to Buenos Aires, where there were 3 to 4 flights a week going to Miami. And this was where he made a costly mistake that would later cost his career. Without getting permission, Angel bought a ticket and left the country. The judge who was involved in his cases became furious that the golfer didn't consider that he had multiple suits filed against him and still chose to leave the shores of Argentina without seeking permission. So she decided to make an example of him and put out a bulletin with Interpol for his arrest. Visibly tense, Cabrera knew his game was up, and by virtue of a warrant released for his arrest, he became a fugitive. And the only place he could think of taking solace was Brazil due to its friendly extradition laws. Angel Cabrera thought he would be in the clear, but Interpol had other plans.
Argentine champion golfer Angel Cabrera has been arrested in Brazil as he faces extradition to his home country.
You see, Cabrera's months on the run from the law ended in January 2021, when the Brazilian federal police arrested him in Rio de Janeiro on an Interpol red notice for crimes he allegedly committed in his home country, Argentina. El Pato was sent to a Brazilian prison until he was extradited to Argentina in June 2021. Meanwhile, Cabrera's lawyer, Miguel Gavier, while speaking to CNN, maintained that his client was innocent of the charges and didn't understand why an Interpol red notice had to be issued when Cabrera was cooperating with the authorities. Apparently, it turned out that Angel Cabrera had little to no faith in Miguel, as he would later hire Carlos Harabedian. While speaking to local Argentine reporters, Harabedian downplayed the allegations, saying the accusations came from long ago. But it turned out that Cabrera's condition was more complex than it appeared. His ex-wife, Silva Rivadero, and another ex-lover, Michaela Escudero, accused him of domestic abuse. He also faced other charges of theft, threats, and causing minor injuries said to have occurred between 2016 and 2020. But the one thing that stands out in the charges each of the women filed against him is domestic abuse. His ex-lover, Cecilia Torres Mana, claimed that aside from hitting her, he tried to run her over with his car. Torres claimed the relationship became manipulative and greatly disturbing as Cabrera began feeling insecure. So to deal with his insecurities, Angel would lock her up and threaten to use his connections to make her life miserable if she ever reported it to the authorities. She said Cabrera always acted like he owned her for the rest of her life, so he expected her to take the constant humiliation and attacks.
En la que el golfista fue grabado con el teléfono celular de la víctima, Ángel Cabrera puede terminar preso.
After trying to obviously assault Torres, Cabrera tries to make his way into the vehicle forcefully, and this footage is a solid piece that was used to nail him.
Amplió la denuncia.
Tenía una orden de restricción.
It was at this point Torres knew she had to stop him at all costs, so she immediately filed an assault charge. Cabrera's attorney, Carlos Herabedia, fought to prove his client's innocence, but Angel wasn't helping matters because even during the trial, the professional golfer threatened Torres over the phone. So in July 2021, the jury found him guilty and sentenced him to 2 years behind bars for gender violence. And as if that wasn't enough, last December, the 53-year-old became a 2-time assault convict. He received an additional 2 years and 4 months of prison time for assaulting another ex-lover, Michaela Escudero. Cabrera has a history of assaulting women, and some like to blame that on his poor upbringing, where he picked up a lot of bad habits on the streets. Others speculate that he must have been abused growing up.
Statistics peg the amount of abused children who grow up to be abusers themselves as somewhere between 30 to 40%.
According to statistics, Cabrera likely falls into the 30 to 40% of abused children who grew up to become abusers themselves and failed to break out of the cycle. Unfortunately, he had to pay the price, which not only cost his freedom, but his career. But what do you make of Angel Cabrera's conviction? Do you see him making a comeback after his release? Buy some cool golf gadgets at our store, or click on one of our videos for more intriguing golf content from us.